Yo, what is going on? So we are in the garage, and today we're going to be fixing more broken stuff. Go figure. So I wanted to show you a little bit of what I'm working on, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so here's one of the things that I'm working on. These are some axles that I'm putting together for my buddy Chris Vera. These are K-Series axles. They are both insane shafts, but he gave me 3 other axles. So I basically put these aside because you can see there's quite a bit of discoloration here, which I don't like. And then on this one, it is totally cracked. So let me zoom in on it. Alright, well, first of all, you note the discoloration where my cigar is pointing, but then also there's a gigantic crack in that cage right there. So yeah, that axle's no good. So I told him, hey, that axle's junk. We can take the innards of the axle, basically the rest of it, like this stuff, and save it for later. That one you can use as a spare, but I am rebuilding 3 of his axles for him right now. Alright, and here's our wall of misfit axles. Not necessarily because they're misfit axles, but because it's the axles that we're going to be rebuilding for Chris. So, I don't like these 2 axles. These are both, one is an R axle, one is an insane shaft. I believe this is an R axle right here, and this is an insane shaft. The insane shafts have this like discoloration going on, which is typically what I see before a Honda axle fails. And then this R axle was notably better than the insane shaft, but they both have these outer joints that are really hard to get off. And whenever I've had that happen, it's because they're cheap Chinese axles, which is really annoying. But behind them, it's funny because the rustiest, ugliest axle of all of them is the best one, in my opinion. It's an OEM axle. If you're familiar with my videos at all, you know that I really only mess with the OEM axles. People will buy insane shafts or R axles or whatever, drive shaft shop, and I always say OEM axles for road racing are the best axle, hands down, you can get. That's all I rebuild for my car. And whenever someone sends me axles to rebuild, I'm always like, because they're usually not OEM. So, lo and behold, 4 of 5 of these axles were not OEM. 2 of them were junk. 1 of them is questionable. 1 of them is good. And the other one's OEM. So, yeah. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a complete day in the garage if there wasn't something else broken. So, this is the radiator that broke from the race with Lee when I rear-ended him. Yeah, so you can see all this brown stuff. That's actually water that sprayed out. So I was cleaning it with this wire brush. But if you flip it over, you can see that this is the majority of the brownness here. And if you go right and you zoom in on that spot, see if I can get it for you, you'll see that it's got a little puncture in here, right here. And so that's where the leak came, because it hit right here and put a hole through there. This one right here is a little bit bent. We're going to clean it up and see how bad it is. This probably does need to be repaired. But what I'm going to do to repair it is we're going to get old school. Hopefully this works. We're going to try and braze it back together. Ew. I tried fixing the radiator as you saw in that last video, and I couldn't. So what I did was I measured the radiator just to confirm that it was a Mishimoto 3-row. Ronnie from Track Monsters actually gave me that radiator a while back because he went from B series to K series. He's like, I don't need this anymore. So shout out to Ronnie. That radiator has served me super well. It's been a great radiator. The cap let go, but I put a generic parts store 1.1 bar back on it, and it ran great until it got destroyed. So we ordered another 3-row radiator off of eBay. Of course, the quality on the eBay stuff is generally hit or miss, but this one is actually a Megan Racing brand, which again is not super high quality, but I'm really not concerned about the quality of the radiator. I mean, a good radiator would be like a CSF or a Koyo. Mishimoto is, in my experience, kind of like a more expensive budget radiator. Because a budget radiator would just be an eBay radiator. The generic Chinese ones sometimes have leaks in them, so you sometimes have to send them back. So it's a good radiator to buy if you're in the off season and you have time to put the car together and see if it leaks. And if it doesn't leak, I know people who have ran eBay radiators for years and they were fine. So this radiator is not quite an eBay radiator, it's a Megan one, but yeah, so we got in the radiator. So we're good in that aspect. So we're just waiting for that to come in. And right now, what I have in front of me is my GSR. So as I mentioned before, the GSR probably blew a head gasket. So what we have to do is we have to basically take apart these bridges that hold that brace the cam caps. Then we have to remove the cam caps and we have to remove the cams. But before we can do that, we have to remove the timing cover, which is on the right side of the motor facing me. So that's kind of what we're going to get started on doing. The motor's out of the car for a reason. We also have to take the intake manifold off, so I'll get some video of that, and yeah.
Do 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 do, copyright free music. Do do do, I am not stealing, cause this is copyright free. Do 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 do, copyright free music. Music without copyrights. Do 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 do, copyright free music. Do do do, I am not stealing, cause this is copyright free. Do 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 do, copyright.
Alright, what's up? So I did just want to go over something real quick. So this is a thermal shield gasket. So it's a plastic gasket of a given thickness to isolate conductive heat transfer from the engine block to the intake manifold. I've never measured the difference between this and not having one on the dyno, but I imagine it helps a little bit. I think Honda came up with the concept originally, and then a bunch of Chinese companies started knocking it off. So this is a Chinese knockoff, of course, in true EJ2 track rat fashion. And as you can see, we RTV'd around this hole. It did oval out a little bit with heat from the coolant. But I've heard people say that they don't work, and I just wanted to share this with you because they do work. This is the second one I've run. This is the first time I've run one on a VTEC motor. Before I ran an H4 on a non-VTEC motor. And then while we're in here on the GSR, we are going to change out the injectors. So these are OEM injectors. A lot of people like to run the RDX injectors. I think they're 400cc or so, and they're OEM, so they have a really good spray pattern. But I took this to my tuner. These are OEM GSR injectors, have never been cleaned, and he said the duty cycle was around 90%, maybe a little bit below that. He said there was no issue, so I ran these. But what I'm going to be replacing them with is fully cleaned LS injectors. LS and GSR and Type R, they all use the same injectors, I've been told. I think it's 240cc per minute. So because I do have some injectors that have maybe, I think, 1 season on them after being cleaned, I'm probably going to throw those in. They're probably going to flow a little bit better. Maybe make a little more power, and then I can tune a little bit with my ECU that AEM gave me a long time ago. Yeah, as you saw, we were removing the cam bridges, so we're going to get those off, and it should be ready to come off, but of course, should is kind of the key word here. So got this off, I believe. There we go. So we got one cam bridge. This is for the intake side, and then we got another cam bridge. This is for the exhaust side. So we're going to try not to lose track of these, and put them over here. And man, this smells terrible. I do not miss taking motors apart. Alright, I believe this is the moment of truth, but yeah, it seems to be coming off. Yeah, I mean, the head gasket seems to have held up, sorta. And it doesn't look totally blown. It doesn't really look blown at all, honestly. Let's try not to get myself covered in oil here. Alright, guys and girls. Oh. So it's definitely not happy. There's very clearly there is some stuff going on here. And if you look at the bottom, I think this is where the blown head gasket business started happening. You can see this black material is all completely gone. This black material is all completely gone. This black material. So it blew a head gasket on cylinders 1, 2, and 3. So basically every single cylinder, it blew a head gasket. Alright, and while I'm in here, I'd like to see if the bores are okay. This has some scoring in it for sure. Cylinder number 4. Cylinder number 4 has definitely got some scoring in it. Not sure if you can see it, but it's definitely got some vertical scoring. see if I can, oh yeah. Yeah, that catches the fingernail a little bit. So this motor is, motor's tired. This motor's tired, boys and girls. Let's take a look at cylinder 1. Alright, cylinder 1. Let's see if I can get it to focus on here. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely scored. Not terrible, but it's scored. And honestly, it's starting to look like they're all scored, which is not good. Alright, well there you have it, folks. Don't overheat your engines. Yeah, so I guess the scoring's not too bad. I might just throw it back in the car, but I'm going to go back inside and take a break and decide what I'm going to do later. But I do appreciate you guys watching, and take it easy.